Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our second Women and Wealth webinar for the month of August. We are very excited to have Janine Basel, CEO of AKRO Capital, with us tonight, who is going to share some wealthy insights on everything that's entrepreneur and making your dreams bigger and bolder than you ever thought that you would. I am joined again by Megan and Pamela from the Wealth Migrate team, and as always, we are here to provide you with interesting info and really get you engaged. So I'd just like you to please start by typing in the questions or the chat box and letting us know where you're joining us from. I know that we had people who have registered from all over the world. More than 400 people have registered for tonight's webinar, and we're really excited to be sharing with everybody. We will make sure that Janine answers any questions that you are putting forward. So please pop those in as you go along, and we will just get to them all at the end. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Megan and really ask you to be engaged in this webinar. Hi, Megs. Hi, Pamela, and welcome, Janine.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. I'm so excited. I'm Megan. So I've been with the company for 4 years. I have been Scott's PA, and I've ventured into finance, and Women and Wealth has been a big contributor, big motivation. If I know about all the women in the company and who we're exposed to and what wonderful women we have in our community. So I just wanted everyone to have that as well as I did. So what those that don't know who Wealth Migrate is an online real estate platform, allowing the 99% to invest like the top 1%. So Pamela, anything you would like to introduce yourself? Anything you want to add?
Hello, everyone. So Megs, I remembered with the last webinar that we had. Okay, so hi, everyone. For those who are tuning in for the first time today, my name is Pamela, and I'm the Junior Company Administrator. So Megs, remember when we first had this conversation, we said this should be accompanied by a glass of something, but we forgot to mention that last week. So anyways, with that being said, please do grab yourself a quick drink. I mean, we are mothers here, fathers as well have joined as well. I can also say that, fathers, brothers, everyone, please do grab a drink, join us. It's meant to be a relaxed session. So with that being said, there's nothing further that I'd like to add. Yes, mate, sip on your tea. And nothing further than that. We can go on to hear what Janine has for us today.
Hi, thanks, Pamela. Well, if you can just hold off a bit, I've just got to go open a glass of something and I'll be right back. So hi, everybody, and thank you for the invite to Wealth Migrate. I'm Janine Basel. I run a company called AKRO, which sits at the tip of Africa, and we work in the early stage startup ecosystem in various ways. So we've got co-working spaces, we do investments, our own and through various affiliations and partnerships. We've got accelerators and workshops. We're about to kick off. We're quite excited. We just announced yesterday we've got our first township accelerator, and we do consulting and coaching through our advisory app, which is actually also going live end of this month. But yeah, so we're in the entrepreneurial space, and we work mostly with people in tech. And if it's all right with all of you, I'm just going to go straight for it and give you a little bit of my story and what I'm hoping to share with you all today. And Lee, Megan, Pamela, please feel free to interrupt me at any time if I can just go for it. So my journey, it might be of interest to people because I think I was the furthest thing from a businesswoman than you could wish. I was a stay-at-home mom for 16 years, and yet here I am now running a company called AKRO and nurturing my next company, Girl Boss Hustle. And never in a million years did I see this in my future, and yet year by year, the stage in front of me just gets bigger and bigger. So if you want to see me getting passionate or animated, you can get me talking about one or two topics. The first one being the early stage startup ecosystem. and the second is Women in Business. But obviously, because we're in Women's Month, we're mostly a bunch of women here today, I'm going to just focus in on Women in Business. And really how this all came about and Girl Boss Hustle is that I was seeing out of every 50 people that come to me for investment, maybe one would be a woman. And that woman would normally be partnered with another co-founder, a male co-founder. And I'd have all these workshops and events, and I'd be like, where are the women? I'm seeing young and old guys, black and white guys, but where are the women? They just weren't coming forward. So one of my colleagues, she suggested that we host a workshop for women, and we called it Girl Boss Hustle. The name just came to us out of nowhere. And that's what we've been building on the side, which is now taking its own front and center stage, as it should. So I think the first two things I'd like to really urge every woman here today, I've got two things that I would really like to share, and that is whatever your dream is now, think bigger and think bolder, get out of your comfort zone. I just don't see women coming out strongly and boldly enough in general, pointing more fingers back at myself first. It was a journey for me to get to where I am. Be committed and accountable to those goals and dreams. And then I think the second thing that I'd really like to share is it's a long life in front of us now. And you've got different opportunities coming your way all the time, and don't be afraid to take a left turn or a right turn. You can have your life as a corporate worker, or your life as a dedicated stay-at-home mom, or your life as an entrepreneur. There's no one set path and there's no one choice to make. But the caveat that comes with that is that you have got to be prepared to get out of your comfort zone. And believe me, that is more than being uncomfortable. Even when I talk about it, I can feel the dread and the fear within me whenever I take these new steps. And the rewards can be incredibly fulfilling. They can bring you financial wealth. They can bring you personal growth. They can fulfill you personally. But, there is that very uncomfortable transition period. So, we all understand wealth generally. If I'm going to just put it out there across to everyone, it's the abundance of money and what you can see from that. And, we use that through travel, through mansions and houses and fancy cars, recognition. And we all agree that's great. And of course, everyone on top of that talks to that wealth can bring you freedom. But freedom does come at a cost. And that cost is getting out of your safety net and really stretching yourself to do new things, to learn more, to help others, to step where you haven't been before. And I think for me, the biggest part of that is actually that it forces you into an accountability position. But although I'm giving you a lot of negatives with it, obviously the wealth that comes with this freedom can be super invigorating and inspiring. And I think for me, the biggest wealth that has come out of me taking these uncomfortable steps has been my own self-confidence and self-ability, which is priceless. So to illustrate my first point regarding women thinking bigger and bolder, as I said, the women just weren't coming forward. And, we started we started Girl Boss Hustle. And we just noticed that women presented in a different way. There are a lot of women in business, but for the most part, they're happy to go under the radar and bluntly not willing to be accountable to their own big goals. That's all very well to have goals. We've all got dreams and wishes and so forth. But are you really putting it out there and being accountable to it? So to illustrate the point further, I look no further than myself. When my eldest son started his business at university, we saw the need to provide really practical hands-on early stage assistance for the tech startups. And so AKRO was born. And AKRO, for the Greeks amongst us, they'll know that stands for extreme. And the idea behind it is think bigger, better, and bolder. But for the first 2 years in AKRO, I felt like I was caretaking the business on behalf of my son until he could exit his business and join me and take over the reins of AKRO, although he was joined with me, but I was waiting for him to really take over. And it was evident in whenever we had meetings and he'd be present with me, I kid you not, my 22-year-old son would be next to me and all the discussions and talking would be centered and directed to my son, waiting for his answers. And it's not that I didn't have my own presence and I didn't have any contribution. It's just that I was quite happy to sit in the background and be a support network. And I think that might resonate with a lot of women here. So, you know, I was very happy to be light touch. I was working when I wanted. I would take off when I wanted. There was no real depth to the work I was doing. And of course, nobody else would see me as the real leader I should be because I wasn't taking up that leadership role. And so this is not about men pushing women forward. It's really about the own work we've got to do within ourselves and to take ownership. And then two things happened that really made me sit up straight and were pretty life-changing. The end of December 2017, I was sitting in one of my co-working spaces in Cape Town, talking to a bunch of young women. They were just asking my advice and a whole lot of stuff. And the one young woman asked me if I was competitive, and I knew the answer immediately, that I don't have a competitor bone in my body. So no, I'm not. I'm very conscientious. But as I answered that, another young woman who I worked with walked past, heard the conversation, and said almost simultaneously as I answered, "Oh, Janine's very competitive. She's the nicest, kindest young woman. I know her very well still. I'm still with her. But you know, it was almost like a physical slap to me. I was absolutely distraught that she called me competitive. And it stuck with me for about 3 months. And I thought, what's wrong with being competitive? And why have I always shied away from competition? And I think the reason I didn't like the word competition is that it would involve me being committed and showing up in a more in-depth way to what I'd been doing. It would mean really setting audacious goals, not dreams, but setting audacious goals and being accountable to these goals. And I think for me, that's the big thing, that little space between setting goals and accountability to the goals. Taking the reins, taking ownership of my own business. And I can honestly say that when I made that commitment to be competitive or allow myself to go into growth phase, I know some people don't like that word competitive. I don't mean comparing to other people. I mean really taking myself from where I was to a forward place. But that's the day when my business changed and my growth prospects and my personal wealth changed. I'm still working on that mind shift. I think it's a continual work in progress, but it's taken hold and this bus ain't stopping. So I'm moving forward. So yeah, I mean, I have many days and I've even had multiple times in a day when I think, what am I doing? I could be gardening, I could be baking, all things I love doing. But right now is the time for stoking those flames and growing in my own boldness, learning how to roar from Africa here. And the second incident that happened to fuel my own growth is a young woman who's close to me, was in her first year of varsity around the same time that I had this conversation. And she said she wanted to head up a global financial institution. And honestly, I'm telling you, to my absolute dismay of my own self, I disregarded her. It's not like I poo-pooed it, but I disregarded it. I thought, we no time before she's, taken a more gentle path, for want of another word. But today, this young woman is sitting in a glass castle in London, working just off of London Bridge there, Tower Bridge. And she's just completed a master's in computational mathematics at Oxford University. And this dream is within her grasp if she wants it. Of course, she might not choose to take it at this point in time, but she's got a long life. She can still get it whatever time. She doesn't have to go for it right now. So I think those 2 points were really critical to me in my own development. And I urge all of you to look at those around you and support them if they've got a big dream, but to hold people accountable to those dreams. And then to go on to my second main point, being that we've got this long life ahead of us. And what are we going to do with it? My thing is be bold to use it. So many of us sit on the sidelines and we dabble in our lives. I hope that's not offensive to anyone, but I just feel like we don't really grab it. There's all this talk about balance. And yeah, I love balance. I love the beach. I love going hiking. I love, doing a lot of fun things like the rest of us. But really, I urge you, don't sit on the sidelines. Put your focus on your passion. Let your passion run. Your passions will change as your life continues. It's just organic. But I was 100% committed stay-at-home mom who tackled the job of being a mom very seriously with enthusiasm. You would never hear from my lips that my kids irritated me, that I wanted out. And yes, I was even one of those strange ones without COVID who even homeschooled for periods of time. But my kids got older, got a bit of a shock when my youngest was in high school and not around. And I thought, boy, I best find, another direction for my life. And I was lucky enough to be offered a position. And before I know it, I was 2RC in that position. But I realized that I had joined a company that was failing. And I managed to really pull this company together. But I realized that last 10%, I could not make the change to make it a world-class company without this being my own business. And when the opportunity came up for me to start AKRO, I absolutely jumped at it. And, my kids are older. I'm working. Sometimes you could point a finger at me that I'm a bit of a workaholic. But I think, why not? I love it. My husband's involved in his business and he loves what he's doing. Why shouldn't I dive deep into my business? No one ever accused me of going too deep as a parent. Why can I not dive deep as a woman in business? And it's a time in my life. I'm delighted to be doing it. I help myself. I help others. I help the economies within which I find myself. And to me, this is a win-win all round. I'm a contributing citizen of the world. There may come a time when I want to change direction, and guess what? I'll grab it. I'll take that opportunity for change, and I'll get uncomfortable again, even though I hate change. But I'll listen to my head because I think it's a head choice. I don't think it's a heart choice. And so that's my kind of message to everyone. And as I said, my personal story is really going from, working in a corporate environment after university. I was, got a good education. I was in an insurance company after that in the legal division. I chose to be a stay-at-home mom. I was totally committed. I never once wanted to go back. An opportunity came up for me to join a company for a project, a 3-month project. This guy had to have 3 coffee dates with me before I decided, okay, I was going to take the position. Before I knew it, I was 2RC in that company. But as I said, that last 10%, I couldn't have changed in that company because it wasn't my company. And I felt very firmly, if I'm going to do something, I want to be a winner and I want to do it properly. So I actually resigned. And then before I knew it, an opportunity presented itself again with AKRO. And now we've got Girl Boss Hustle going. And watch this space. We're hoping to migrate our way to the UK, mid-year next year. We're working on that right now. So here I am talking to all of you. And who knows what my future is. I've still got many years ahead of me. And that's about it from my side. I don't know. You did send me some questions, Lee. I don't know, or sorry, Megan, I don't know if you want me to address those questions.
So just before we go to those questions, Janine, you speak a lot about being accountable to yourself and getting others in your network to hold you to your accountability. Tell us about your network and how that works and what you've got set up with your accountability buddies.
Yeah, so, obviously from a home environment, I've got a businessman as a husband and businessman as one of my sons. So they alone, believe me, hold me accountable. And interestingly enough, as a family, twice a year we have a get together to see where everybody is on their business. I'm not talking about personal, but on their business life and where any one of us need help. And that's super helpful on a family basis. But it's a very structured meeting for me. That can be difficult. But as I said, I've got two businessmen in the family who keep me together. And then in terms of our company, Girl Boss Hustle has been truly instrumental for me, and I'm hoping the women who are with us. So we have coaching sessions twice a week, and part of it is accountability of, we have a theme for the month. And what we set at the beginning of the month, what are we working on? What is the one thing that'll drive our business forward this coming month? And keeping in line with our strategy, whatever our own individual strategy is for the month, for the year, sorry. And, are we keeping in line with that? And that has really been a game changer for me. If nothing else, to talk about an accountability of where you are. Even if you don't even need someone who's sitting there with a stick over you. It's about you being in a group of people who are supportive, making you talking about this. You come to the next month, have you done it or not? No one there is, as I said, a teacher on you. It's more a case of you seeing your own lack of development for the month or your development for the month. And yeah, so that works really well. I would encourage everybody to get their tribe together, their tribe of women. Supporters. Yeah.
Okay, great. And tell us about Girl Boss Hustle. You've mentioned this, but what is Girl Boss Hustle? What are you cooking up at the moment?
So Girl Boss Hustle is a version of AKRO, meaning we want you to think bigger, be bolder, move faster. And if you take each of those statements that I've just said and you break them down, there's a tremendous amount behind them. Think bigger, meaning right from the outset, if you're planning some dev work or whatever, it's built for scale. If you're building a business, there's scalability to it. And that really speaks to the mindset that we're trying to get behind this. It's not that I don't think a lifestyle business can be super big or that it can't be make you incredibly wealthy. But I think, to spread this good news of whatever your business is, it needs to be scalable. Build better, meaning once again, whatever tech you're building or whatever structure you're building to your business, that it can scale out. And then the last point on this is move faster. This is something that academically I understood. But when I started my business, I had a certain amount that I invested to this. And I was so proud of myself, for want of another word, for eking it out over a period of time and being sensible with how I did everything. But really all I did was something that should have taken me 2 or 3 months took me 15 months. And, I see it with startups all the time. They are going to go slowly on this and slowly on that. But if you look at the Silicon Valley method of doing things, it's really being bold, getting out there, testing what you're doing. Is this going to work or if it's not going to work? And guess what? If it ain't going to work, it ain't going to work. You get on to the next thing. So that's been a huge learning curve for me, and it's something that I'm really trying to pass on to others. There's people that we've been working with in our field within 3-4 years, and they're still battling month to month. I don't want to see you or anyone in my circle battling from month to month. Let's make a go of it, be a success, or try the next thing. It's not like it's a failure if it doesn't work. So Girl Boss Hustle really is the mindset of that behind it. And it's exactly the same as AKRO. It's advisory services, it's an academy, it's coaching, investment where needed, opening up networks to startups and to entrepreneurs. I think we've pretty much covered it there. So I really would, anyone who wants to join us, we are on Facebook. We do have a page on our AKRO site, and we are presently in the process of getting a new website for Girl Boss Hustle. But we do have a private group, Girl Boss Hustle, on Facebook, which is very active, and I would welcome anybody. It's not for South Africans, it's a global page.
Great.
Well, you definitely answered one of the questions I was going to ask you. Since I'm a millennial and all, I was going to ask you exactly where to follow you and where to find Girl Boss Hustle. I must say that name, how did you come up with it? Because like, it sounds so bold. It sounds so like, hey, I'm here, I'm taking my place.
Pamela, I'm so glad you actually asked that question. I can't take it. It was one of my colleagues, Jamie Lee. And she came up with it. I have no idea how and where she came up with it. And, you know, afterwards, when it was first going to just be an event, but I promise you, we put the event up and we had, you know, thousands, I think 7,000 returns within 48 hours. And I had to say, gosh, we've got place for like, I think 125 people. We had to put a stop to it. That was before we all did webinars and that, the old days. And then afterwards, it became clear that there was a need for this, for women. You know, women show up in a different way, a little bit more touchy-feely. They want to talk about things. They're more connectors and communicators. And yeah, so we sat down. We thought, you know, sometimes it can be offensive to, number one, call your business a hustle, and also, you know, is it offensive calling, you know, women girls? You know, so, but we thought about it, and we thought, yeah, we could take the woman entrepreneurship road, or, you know, I know there's quite a few others, but we just felt this resonated with what we were doing. We wanted to keep it light, and we didn't want to be so serious that people felt intimidated coming to us. We wanted to open it up to come, just be a part of this. Let's all grow together. Yeah. So thank you for that question, Pamela.
I was going to say, yeah, men can hustle. Why not women? You know, we're all
Yeah.
equal. And also,
Yeah.
I love what you said. Women don't just share. Women, if I can say, mold everyone around them. They're the next generation. So, like for you, Janine, your children, what you've learned, you pass on to your children. Same with Lee, what she learns, she passes on to her children. Maybe not directly, but she does pass it on. Same with Pamela. We've actually had shareholders in the company that say they actually took them out of school and say, no, you'll learn more from a webinar or an event than you will at school. So us women, we do nurture everybody around us, and we love talking, so we are the best words of mouth and to get everybody to join. So my question, I'm sure a lot of ladies want to know, what advice or tools or guidance would you give them to take that step to be bold and get out their comfort zone?
I think it's a two-step process. I think the first thing is to commit to something, whatever that might be, whatever stage of life you're going into, whether it's you going into full-time parenthood or you're going into your own business, you who work for WealthE Migrate, you know, be committed to it. And the second really important thing is just to show up every day consistently. You know, I would sit at, I mean, when I think back to the early days, I would sit at my desk and I'd be like, nothing's going on. What the crap am I going to do today? And, you know, it's the most incredible thing. You get out, you network. Okay, let me do this one thing. Okay, then this leads to the next thing. Oh, you know, I have thought of that. And I promise you, it's just committing that time. It is time. You know, people, you know, I know there's this like 4-hour work week and all of that, but all that is doing is condensing that work into this period of time so you can now focus on something else. So that's pretty much what I'm a big believer of. Just show up and be consistent. In terms of the boldness, it's just, you know, I think that'll come as you're gaining confidence. So yeah.
Thanks, Janine. No, I know exactly how. If you do what you love, you don't actually work a day. You want to come to work. You don't want to dread the day coming to work. Is there anything that you would tell your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I think for me, the big thing is about, you know, I studied law at varsity. So obviously what's the outcome? You need to be a lawyer, right? Or in the legal field. But when I decided to stay home with my kids, when I had kids, I had a tremendous amount of guilt with me, thinking, gosh, I've got this fantastic education. Here I am sitting at home with the kids, as it were. But even that education came in handy. We moved to the United States of America, to Boca Raton, and that education I had allowed me to not even think twice about my capacity to handle homeschooling in the days way before it was popular. And I didn't even, not once did I second guess that I had the capability to do it and to find the information and, give them a good education. And I think, my eldest son, when we came back to South Africa, he skipped a grade. And I think that's, a testament. They've both gone on to do very good degrees. So I think that part of, obviously it's not me, it's them, but I've had a little bit of something to do with that. So what would I say to my younger self is, there's no one path. You want to do this for now, go on and do it. But whatever you do it passionately. And you want to change, and organically your life will change if you've got an interest in something else. Go with it, go with the flow. But just whatever you do. And yeah, I've been fortunate because my mom has shown the way. She's always been passionate about what she's done. So, if I'm going to paint a door, I'm going to paint it beautifully. It's going to be a good job. And so I just think I wouldn't worry about, the right thing to do. There's no one right thing. We've got such a long life now. Everyone routinely is living to their 80s, mid 80s or late 80s now. And some are living through to their 90s. It's clearly just a matter of time before it's, the 90s is standard and the 100, you're hitting the 100 mark. So you've got a long life. Just enjoy it. It's not about like how quickly can you retire. I know plenty of people in my life who have retired. I've got a brother-in-law who retired at around 48, but he's busier than ever. He's been retired for probably 20 years, and I can't remember his age now anyway. And he's as busy as ever. So yeah, it's not about the retirement. It's about really being involved and taking life with both hands.
I think Monique agrees with you in terms of the age thing, because she's saying she's 61 and she still has a long life ahead of her.
Perfect. Yeah, Monique. Well, I only started my business at 48 or 49, 48. That's the age I started my business. And believe me, I've got far to go. So, yeah.
We've had a question. They want to know how you raised your capital in the beginning for AKRO.
Yeah, so it was a bit of personal, but it was also somebody who believed in what we were doing. He actually wasn't in, so it was an angel investor. It was the first person who put money into us. And he himself was not in entrepreneurship, but he believed in what we were doing. So he came from a family of entrepreneurs. And he was the one who believed in it and actually offered. We didn't even, go looking for the capital. He came forward, said, I hear what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Let's do this and let's get on board with you. And that's the only capital we've ever taken. We haven't really needed anything apart from that, because everything we've done has grown organically and through partnerships. So if anyone had to ask me what is the one single thing that's helped my business grow, absolutely partnerships, whether it's with individuals or with companies. So obviously the companies give you credibility. So we've done deals with the biggest venture capital companies in Africa. And we've got a good track record doing the work that they asked us to do. And with individuals who have, once again, reached out to us most of the time, actually. And I'm a collaborator by nature. So for me, I just love it. And unfortunately, I think probably my downfall is that, even when you're collaborating and you've got the same goal, you've got different agendas. And so I would just caution people about that, because when you've got people with different agendas, at some point, obviously, there's going to be a lack of alignment. And so how do you deal with that? So that's also been a process that I've learned the hard way. That, it's all very well you're on this path, but you're a fair way down the path, and and then someone goes, for want of another word, what I call short left, and to what you want to do, and how you do handle with that. I've had to work on not taking it personally, and okay, well, I don't want to put myself back with that person because it's not going to be for the good of my business. But how can I find other people aligned with what I want to do? Yeah.
So I know that you mentor a lot of people.
Yeah.
Essentially, do you have mentors yourself, or have you had mentors? And in what areas of your life have you had mentors?
Yeah, so I do have mentors, some paid, some not. And interestingly enough, there's somebody that I'll be doing business with shortly that he offered to be a mentor in the nicest possible way. Obviously, when you offer to mentor someone, you've got to be careful, because sometimes it might be offensive to them, like, what, am I not good enough? I need mentoring. So this guy clearly was aware of that, and he very obliquely referred to it. And I wanted to grab it with both hands, but I'm very glad I didn't now. And he's now a collaborator and potentially a partner going forward in a certain aspect of my business. And so I'm glad I didn't choose him as a mentor, though I hand him out liberally to people to mentor. I cannot talk enough about my husband. He's really been an incredible... He's managed that fine line between being a husband, being a mentor, and a business coach, which is all a little bit different. And I do have somebody else who's been a pretty strong mentor through all of this, or coach, should I say. And I know my one son won't want to hear this, but my one son is definitely a coach and mentor. He's really an absolutely incredible businessman. And also, don't forget, we all coach each other. I mean, I think, we all definitely coach each other. And I think that's where Girl Boss Hustle's been really valuable to me. I think that's really been valuable, that in these small groups you can get to be vulnerable with each other, and and ask each other for advice and help. And sometimes it's even the small things. Sometimes you meet people that are a once-off coach, Yeah. I saw a message coming now, if you don't mind me addressing it now, about what's my business model.
So we have...
Yeah.
Yes, we've got a beautiful question from Rachel. What is your business model?
So what we try to do is diversify as much as possible. So when we started off, it was literally on a wing of a prayer or faith that we just blew out there, that there would be somebody who believed in what we're doing by practically assisting the startups, and went into that part of it, which we did see as, so we had right from the outset, I must say, before there was pen to paper, there was a very clear structure in our heads of what our goal is, and we are still very, very much pursuing that goal. And it was made of diversification of various things. One of which, for instance, as I said, was co-working, our advisory app, which we launching at the end of this month. And each of them are there. We keep almost as, not almost as, we treat as standalone businesses, every section of the business. So the co-working is really the first money spinner for us. Not now. In fact, I'm actually about to possibly pull the plug on one of my spaces, obviously due to COVID. And, you know, luckily for us, that wasn't our business model, wasn't just that. So it was, you know, consulting, the consulting, it was the investing into startups of our own capital, and also then doing deals for startups, getting them their capital and taking a percentage of that. Accelerators as a business model, a standalone business model. So if anyone is not familiar with that, an accelerator is a program that you run for a period of time with a cohort of entrepreneurs, and the idea is to get them from point A to point B in that period of time, so that they can see a very fixed growth focus on their focus. And yeah, with Girl Boss Hustle is basically mirroring that.
Yeah. So Janine, if there were any of the entrepreneurs online and they wanted to know where to start, they've got this idea, they want to go and float it to someone, they want to speak to someone, where do they start? What do they look for?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is you want to bounce it off some family and friends, but be very careful of family and friends, because I promise you, I've seen so many people build stuff, spend time, spend money, and the truth is nobody actually wants to buy it. So obviously start it by sharing your ideas. If you think that this is so special that it can't be shared, that somebody would steal your idea, I guarantee there are very, very few things out there in the world that are so special that you can't share. We don't even do NDAs. You know, it's really about the action that goes behind it. So the first idea is to spin it around with the kind of people in your circle. Try and find one or two trusted family friends that are good business people that you respect, admire. Ask someone to please recommend someone to you. We do see some people, but you know, we're also pretty overloaded. So you know, there's very few people who like us who would. In fact, to my knowledge, I think we're the only ones that I'm aware of that will actually talk to a startup from ideation. And you know, my advice when I talk to someone, they've got this idea, and I'd say, okay, now build that out as if you're an architect. What does that look like? Go and do some very, very, very basic research. So let's say your idea is a service or a product, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Find about 5 very basic questions and give it to someone else to go and ask. So let's say you're going to be doing some service for people from a specific area, or in maybe a demographic like at varsities, students or something, and get someone, don't you go and do, because you will inform the answers just by how you ask it. So just get someone to go and do those questionings, get between 20 and 50 people, make sure that information is actually recorded in a Google spreadsheet or wherever. You will see how important that is going to be later down the line. Once you've got that, you know, one of the questions would be, would you pay XYZ amount for this, between this amount and this amount? Would you expect to have, you've got to think about them, but very simplistic questions, so that you can see, is there actually an appetite for what it is that you're doing? And once you've done that, then, you know, bring that back to the basics. Okay, is there possibly a future for this or not? And then build it out in a slideshow. What, you know, like a pitch. What is your story? Who's your audience going to be? Really nail down who's your audience going to be. These are very simple things. A lot of base homework. Entrepreneurs are not base homework people. They want to just go in and do. And, you know, pull yourself back or get a partner with you that can actually talk you calmly and slowly through the process. Let me tell you something. Google is just, there's absolutely everything there. I will start off with Simon Sinek's why video. Why are you doing what you want to do? Because entrepreneurship is one hell of a hard journey. you're only going to be able to keep in it if you've got a real passion or real need. Not even a passion is, I'm always wary of that word, even though I've used it tonight. If there's a real need for what you're doing. Yeah. So that's the basics. It's very simple. There's no rocket science to any of this. It's literally getting into action and going step by step, and you wanting to be over there, pull yourself back, and do the homework. Yeah.
So ladies, should we head into the comments and some of the questions? Is that fine with everyone?
Perfect.
Okay, cool. So building on to Rachel's question where she asked about your business model, she asked if you had any examples that you wanted to share.
Examples of our business model? Well, obviously subscription base, service consulting base, percentage of money raised. So as I said, we've diversified, and we really do keep them in their little trains. Yeah, I think that should be enough of an idea. Yeah, we're in the service industry, so obviously it's all service related, and there's various models within the service industry. I mean, yeah.
Okay, and then there's a comment from Laura who says her eldest son's friend has a saying that a person shouldn't become a spectator but rather a participator.
Yeah,
that's a true, yeah, it rings true.
Yeah, it's really true. Yeah, it is true. And that, but as I said, a true entrepreneur, you've got to also pull that person back from doing too much doing and doing a little bit of planning. I think the most amazing thing about being human is that you can hold two opposing views at one time. And I think that's honestly what makes us human. And so it's that hurry up and wait story. Go and do this, but have you been careful? It's mitigating your risk but being risky. And I'm quite sure that speaks exactly to what you do at your company. So it's about being risk tolerant but mitigating the risk.
Yeah, definitely. Then we've got Gillian Allwood, who would love to say to you that she loves your story. She feels you're so real and authentic. Family is important to you, so encouraging, and she can definitely relate to everything that you said. I've never heard of
a different story. Yeah, I know it's not the usual story, being a stay-at-home mom for 16 years and now I'm running a business, but I think really that's my story is everyone's story, and yet it's also my own unique story. It's just there's no rocket science to any of us in what we do. It's just about having the spine to get up and get out of your comfort zone.
And then Monique, I've never heard someone ask this question, but I think I'm stealing this from now on because it's the most polite way to ask this question. Monique would like to know, what age bandwidth are you in?
Age bandwidth. Like there's no rocket science here either, boy. I'm 53. I'm 53. Yeah.
That's why I say this polite. I'm definitely using that going forward. It's so polite.
I like that. I'm going to try and do that. At this stage, maybe there will come a time where I don't want to give my age away, but I'm proud of any scars I've got. I've made it sound like it's been very easy. I've been, look, yes, I was privileged to stay at home as a stay-at-home mom. I was privileged. A job got offered to me at a point in my life where I was actually needing something different. I was privileged that I had this opportunity come literally knocking at my door for AKRO. I'm privileged that I've seen the opportunity for Girl Boss Hustle. But obviously interwoven amongst all of that, my story has also been very, very difficult. I cannot tell you, when I went from being a stay-at-home mom to that project that I was doing for 3 months, which became a a job. I mean, I kid you not when I tell you I cried every single morning for a month on the way to that 3-month project. I was like, oh my God, I just had absolutely no confidence coming out of being a housewife. As a housewife, you run a benevolent dictatorship. Everybody jumps when you tell them to jump. Even your husband, he comes up, he's doing what you tell him to do. And, now I was in a working environment and I was scared. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I was scared. But even though I was scared, I pushed myself to do it. And my husband, to his credit, was kind, but wasn't giving me an easy way out. So, yeah. I mean, if I'd said, like, that's it, I'm not going into work, it would have been fine. But, so my point is, there's been a tremendous number of things that that I've not even glossed over. I haven't even made reference to in terms of my life. But, it's all about just being bold and getting up and moving forward.
Definitely, that's awesome. Then we have Anele, who says, wow, she's 48, turned 49 today. Happy birthday, Anele.
Yes.
Listening to you makes me believe I am on the right path. I don't know if I should say this out loud, but she says her password for her PC is Boss Baby 55. So in relation to Girl Boss Hustle. And she says she started her business in 2007 and she's still soldiering on.
Great. Well done, Anela. Keep at it. Keep at it. But if it's taking too long, pivot quickly. Make us happen. Make it a good, wealthy business.
And then coming from Adele, she would like to know, how do you reach your prospects? Do you advertise online?
Actually, we've been really bad. We haven't. Mine has been mostly about networking. It's actually just about networking. Online, online networking, LinkedIn, meeting people, going to going to networking events. People in this country don't really understand networking. Networking is when you show up regularly. Let's say it's with Migrate, and they host once a month something. It's about showing up every time that they have an event, so those people come regularly, get to know you. And just by being in that environment, you get to get some form of credibility, that you're real, that you show up, that you're there all the time. And I have noticed incredible business deals been going on just from those kinds of things. But then you get people come in once, and then they're like prostitutes going to a million different networking events. But just choose a handful and dive deep in them. Really get to know them. Also in terms of your social media, choose two or three and really dive deep into those for yourself for networking purposes. Yeah.
And there is one last one that I see from Rachel again. I think you meant it when you said keep to the same people, because I see Monique and Rachel are just constant with the questions today. So so Rachel is asking, who have you helped become successful?
So we work with early stage startups. So Edu1 is one of ours, eduone.co.za. We've got Dentex, DENTX. Of course, you put me on the spot, and all of a sudden I can't think of any, of course. But we've done. Yeah, I mean, for instance, out of our cohort last year of 20 of the one cohort, 70% of them got investment funding. But as I said, don't forget that we are early stage. So we literally help from ideation. It takes a pretty decent time to get to a Series A, which is when you would typically hear about it in the news. So it'll go from us to normally an angel investor, from an angel investor, maybe to a first round with a venture capital company, and then possibly one or two other smaller interim investments before it gets to what's called a Series A. And Series A is when you'll start hearing about it in the news. So, and that's actually why that's our sweet spot, because no one's really helping people right at the beginning. It's got to be a wealthy uncle, or a family or friends who are putting the money in for you. Not everybody's got that, and certainly not in the South African environment. The South African environment, the bulk of our population don't have anyone like that to call on. So, and that's how AKRO came about. I thought, there's my son who, comes from a family of entrepreneurs, well-connected, and I know how difficult the journey was for him. What's happening with everybody else out there? And honestly, that's the complete simplicity of where our business came from.
Awesome. Thanks, Janine, for sharing. Laura made a beautiful comment. Visibility equals credibility, and credibility leads to profitability. Diane loves that you say it's a benevolent dictator. And and Monique, who asked about your age, said, "Thank you so much for the straight answer. You're beautiful and inspiring."
Thank you.
A further question from Adele. She asked, "What amount of money does one look for a startup like that? For any kind of startup, what kind of?"
I'm not being funny. It's so different. I mean, we've got one at the moment that's looking for £500,000, and we've actually helped somebody with 20,000 Rand, it was two young guys that were bringing braids in from hair extensions from Brazil, and they were sleeping on friends' couches around Kailicha, and so it literally can go from 20,000 Rand through to £500,000. I mean, really, it's so extreme. It depends on what you're in, what you're doing, and obviously, if you don't have the capital behind you, a service industry is always great because you can normally do that with a computer and a bit of data. Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending the time with us. We're on the dot 8:00. Thank you so much for sharing your story and spending the time. You've been super inspirational. We've had amazing feedback from you sharing your story. It resonates with many of the people on the call, which is amazing. If anybody has any questions or wants to reach out to Janine or wants to even share their story with us or Janine, please feel free to reach out to anybody. You Google Wealth Migrate, we all come up. So feel free to. Is there anything you want to say, Lee, to round it off?
Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We really are grateful that you chose to spend this hour with us and with Janine. Thank you, Janine, for giving so freely of yourself and your story. You really are an inspiration. And as Megan said, your story rang true with so many of our community. And this will be going out to our greater community, and I'm sure that we are going to have heaps of questions that are going to be sent through to you. I remind you that Janine put out the information about her Facebook page for Girl Boss Hustle. I did put it in the chat, so please do reach out if you would like to know more. I'm sure Janine and her team of fairies behind her will be happy to help. So thank you to Megan and to Pamela and to Janine for a fabulous second WealthE Wednesday. We look forward to, WealthE Wednesday, Women and Wealth. We look forward to sharing with you again next week, same time, same place. Bring your glasses filled with whatever you want to drink, and we will be chatting to Anne Wilson, the Wealth Chef, and learning about her journey and how she creates a love relationship with money instead of a scarcity mindset. So thank you everybody, wherever you are tonight. Be blessed, be safe, be healthy, and take care.
Bye everyone. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks very much for hosting me.
Thanks, Janine. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.